During the time when I was going through the rough patch in my marriage before the divorce, I had actually gone through counselling and therapy. It was meant to be couple counselling, but in the end I went by myself. And maybe that helped to build up the resilience that I have. So by the time I got to the point when I was like truly a single mom, I used all these tools to kind of help me cope. Hi, I'm Nadia. I'm a mom of a 7-year-old girl. Through my career, I think for more than 10 years, at least 15 years, I've been in HR information systems. And it was a very, very well-paying job. I had a 5-figure income per month. To start with, I wasn't really super happy with the job itself. It paid well, and that was it. I was expecting a second child, I found out, but then very early on I lost the baby. And this was then the turning point actually. Because I was so low about everything, I didn't feel like going back to work. And I also started a project during the 6 months. I started a little project of my own. I started a small company called 40 Weeks. So I was running my home business. It was going well. It was growing slowly. But when the divorce hit, it was very hard to continue. We had a good, and very friendly divorce conversation. So it wasn't like I had to fight for money or anything like that. He was very agreeable in terms of supporting my daughter financially. So that was a non-issue. Things like her school fees, her needs, her basic needs and things like that were taken care of. It was more for myself that I was worried. I have to service my mortgage, that's $2,000 a month. And my day-to-day expenses, my bills and things like that, so I was worried. I was thinking, do I have to sell the apartment? I can't because it's an EC under HDB, so it has a 5-year minimum, waiting period. Could I appeal? Should I even think about selling it? Those are the things, that went through my mind. I needed to look for something part-time because I had no help. Besides my family, of course, who live nearby. And I had these things in mind, it had to be flexible or part-time. I even had a figure in mind. I had my tables, my expenses all penned out. I really think that helped. I called everyone I knew and I asked, do you have a job for me? One thing led to the other, and a few weeks later, I got the job. It was a big deal for me at the time. Not only that, the job didn't pay me my goal amount at the time. Because of my experience doing my own social media for my own company, I also then started doing social media for other small companies, and that filled up the gap. Coping with all this work, right? It was hard emotionally sometimes, but I made it work. So I had to be strict about my own working hours because I know I have to pick up my daughter at 6, I would stop. When certain months when, in the end you invoice less than you had hoped to invoice. So yeah, financially, sure, there were ups and downs, but I coped because of the things I learned. I think the biggest financial burden as a single mom for me was making ends meet. Just being able to buy groceries, or like if you are late for something, not being able to jump into a cab and getting there. Planning budget meals. Making sure that I don't buy expensive items. I had approached the school to ask for a grant for the school fees. I was rejected. So I had to go to a certain body, and I can't recall the name of it. And I went there, they did an analysis, and they actually counted my child support and alimony as income. And then I had to show the invoices that I made, and then I didn't qualify. I guess, I want to be negative and angry about it, but I guess there are people more deserving. I have an asset, I have an apartment, and some people don't even have that. So in a way, it's probably fair lah. If I'm really desperate, I would find a way to sell my apartment, right? But I didn't get to that point because I had so much support. So yeah, I was aware of this one thing, which is to help reduce the school fees for her nursery. Some kind of grant for domestic help. I wish I could have had some help. It was literally just me and her. So when you are living in a standard family where you have a couple taking care of a kid, even if you don't have a helper, you have another pair of hands. So the actual job, the work, the taking care of my daughter is all part of life. So I didn't find that super challenging. But just like because you're alone doing all this, it's just a lot of mental and physical exhaustion. I mean, it was very challenging. It wasn't the easiest to deal with a child who was going through the change in her life that was quite dramatic. Her family was torn apart, basically. Overcoming those and having a great relationship with my daughter now, that kind of thing, I mean, those are fulfilling for me. And feeling happy with what I have, that for me is huge.